We've got about a month left to the Texas legislative session in Austin, and we will begin with Governor Greg Abbott's big push now for bail reform. The governor is urging Texas lawmakers to pass a bill and constitutional amendment to crack down on local judges who he says repeatedly release violent offenders on low bail, only to see them commit more violent crimes, including murder. At an event in Houston last week, Abbott joined family members whose loved ones were killed by offenders let out on low bail after committing violent crimes. Chuck Cook spoke in favor of this legislation because his mother, Rosalie, was stabbed to death.
You know, my mom died a lonely, painful death on the hot asphalt of a Walgreens parking lot, drowning in her own blood. The system is supposed to be designed to protect the public and, most importantly, the most vulnerable. The system failed my mother.
This is common sense. You pass this bill, pass this constitutional amendment, lives will literally be saved. You fail to pass this, more people are going to be murdered. This has to get done.
Among other things, this constitutional amendment will require judges to automatically deny bail for violent crimes, including murder, rape, and human trafficking. It would also give prosecutors the right to appeal a judge's decision on bond and require judges to explain in writing why they released a violent criminal on what the governor calls easy bail. The Texas Senate passed SB 9 by a vote of 28-2. I spoke with the Democratic State Senator Sarah Eckhart of Austin, who is one of 2 Democrats in the Senate who voted against it.
There was a lot of good stuff in the bill, but on balance, I had to vote against it because it took away fundamental rights to individuals based on where they were born. And as you know, and I hope that our entire listening audience knows, that under the U.S. Constitution, as well as the state constitution, a judge gets to determine the risk of you reoffending or being a flight risk based on an individual analysis, not on where you were born.
You're talking about people who were arrested in this country illegally?
So if an individual is arrested in the state of Texas, they go before a magistrate, and the magistrate determines based on the offense and based on their likelihood to not show back up to address the allegation. The judge makes a determination on whether they need to be held pre-trial. And so where you're from is not a criteria. It can be considered if you're alleged to have committed a serious offense and you are from another country and you are undocumented and you are likely to flee, then a judge can make that call. But we shouldn't make a blanket law that says if you were born in another country and you get arrested, you have to be held pre-trial.
There were other reasons that you opposed. You placed a statement in the Senate Journal. Mm-hmm. And correct me if I'm wrong, several of the things that you also brought up was Texas already has one of the highest pretrial detention rates. The bill removes a case-by-case discretion, which you discussed a little bit, and that the bill allows only elected judges to set bail. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Sure. Texas does have one of the highest pretrial detention rates in the nation. And even as our violent crime rate goes down. So that indicates that we are over detaining individuals. They can't get out pre-trial because of some blanket assumptions rather than a case-by-case determination. And to add to that over detention, individuals who may be in this country undocumented, but they may have been here for 20, 30 years. They may have families and businesses, are highly unlikely to flee, and the offense for which they were arrested may not even be provable. So why would we keep that person in pretrial detention if the judge makes a determination that the case is weak and they're unlikely to not show back up for their case?
As you know, Governor Abbott and the Lieutenant Governor have been very vocal about judges in Houston and Harris County for setting very low bail for people who then go out and recommit, in many cases, violent crimes, including murder. And so why shouldn't there be a tightening of the rules in cases where people who are charged with murder and other violent crimes, once they're released, are recommitting?
I'm a former prosecutor, and so I am right there with folks who want to make sure that violent offenders are not let back out on the streets. But we have elected judges in Texas, and if an elected judge is too lenient and doesn't protect the community's safety, the remedy is to vote them out. And we have.
And why do you think many of the other Democrats in the Senate did vote for this?
When there are tragic and very dramatic cases, like the case that this particular bill was predicated on, it's difficult for a politician to say no. It's difficult to stand up and say, "Hold up, the folks who perpetrated this horrific act were not in the custody of a state or county jail when they perpetrated this crime."
I also spoke with Republican State Senator Joan Huffman of Houston, who wrote the bill not only this year, but 2 years ago when it was killed in the House. She says it's crucial that it passes this time.
We need to give judges the ability to hold the most violent offenders without bond, awaiting trial, after due process and a finding of probable cause. Um, we have seen incident after incident in Harris County alone. There's been 162 murders in the last couple of years by individuals out on bond for a felony or a violent offense. So people are dying, and it's not just in Harris County. It's happening throughout the state. And it's time for us to listen to the victims' families and do something about this once and for all that will give the judges that tool that they need.
But don't judges already have that tool to put in at least pretty hefty bail requirements?
They certainly have the ability to do so, to put a high bond. Many times they go back and lower those bonds. They do not have the ability to set a no bond or a strict, holding of a person, except for capital murder cases where proof is evident and that's been proven by the prosecutor. So this would give a tool to judges to use with violent offenders in cases like repeat offenders. We have so many examples that we could give you throughout the state, as I gave you the examples of the murders. But there's individuals who have gone out and committed multiple aggravated robberies, committed sexual assaults, got out, then did a murder. So there's all kind of horrible combinations out there of individuals who have committed these crimes, and no, they don't have the tools now to do what is necessary in some unique cases with the most violent offenders.
You mentioned crime victims before, and the governor has appeared with crime victims' families to push this legislation. And
Yes.
he has mentioned that there are new provisions that he would like added to Senate joint resolutions, provisions he said you have agreed with. And so will they be separate Senate resolutions that you will go back and have to pass in the Senate and I guess in the House as well? And can you talk a little bit about what those provisions may be?
Yes, and the way it would work at this point, let's put it that way, because things change in the legislature, as you know, in the last month of the session. But we presented language to the House. The House could change the Senate bill while it's going through the House process. And then when it came over to the Senate, again, we could concur with those changes because they had been agreed to up front. So that's one way that it could happen. And basically, the governor wants a very strong bill. I agree with the governor 100%. I want the strongest bill we can that provides the best protections for the citizens of Texas. And so that's what we're striving to do. But it's a work in progress at this time. We're trying to get the votes that we need to get this done, and but we're working very hard with the House to get that done at this point.
You mentioned the votes. 2 years ago, the House killed it. It didn't pass.
Correct.
Do you think that that is going to change this time around? Because, as the governor pointed out, Republicans need 12 Democrats to actually make this work.
Well, I hope and pray that that happens. We did get it out of the Senate 29-2, a very strong bipartisan vote. as Senator West from the Dallas area said on the Senate floor, as I presented my bill, this isn't a partisan bill. It's not Republican, Democrat. It's a common sense bill. This is a bill for the people. It should be above politics. And that's what I'm hoping that those, few House Democrats that we need will see this and listen to their constituents.
I spoke with Senator Sarah Eckhart, who is one of the two Democrats who voted against this. And she told me
Yes.
that her thought was that, if these are elected judges, and if the public feels as if these judges are letting people out on a low bail, then they can vote them out. What do you say to that?
Well, they can vote them out, but as you well know, there are many judges, especially in these large counties. When the electorate goes to vote, and I'll take Harris County because I'm most familiar with that. They have, maybe, I don't know, is there 52 judges or so they're voting for? It may be more than that at a time. It's very hard for the public to be informed about these judges. That's part of what we're trying to do with this legislation is bring transparency to the process, make judges, if they decide, they still have the discretion, but if they're not going to do what the presumption is, then they need to put it in writing. And hopefully this will bring awareness to the public so that they can make educated decisions when they vote.
The bill has been sent to the House and referred to a committee. Because this is a constitutional amendment, 100 votes are needed to send this to the voters to decide this in November. There are 88 Republicans, and all are expected to vote for this, and so that means they will need 12 Democrats to approve it. In March, I asked Speaker Dustin Burrows about this scenario. Is that something where you would lean on your Democratic committee vice chairs and your Democratic subcommittee chairs?
It's why working across the aisle is so important. Many of the big things we does require working across the aisle. And I think at the end of the day, we're going to find a solution. We're going to find the 100 votes that are necessary, but we're going to work to get those. And it may take a little bit to figure out all of how to get that done, but we're going to continue working with all of our colleagues.
House Democrats have vowed to block some constitutional amendments after Republicans rejected their plan to send the school choice education savings accounts bill to the voters.
I would hope that the Democrats would make true to their word and they would move forward with trying to block any of these constitutional amendments moving forward until the Texan public have a right to vote on whether or not they are going to have their community schools raided by billionaires.
The Texas Republican Party chairman says the party is behind the governor's effort and wants him to play hardball.
I hope he will call special sessions if he doesn't get this. I really do hope he will do that, because this has been a problem, especially in the last few years with all the illegal immigration, and we have people who are charged for murder walking out and going and committing that crime. It's been crazy